All right. We're live. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been a busy week, nonstop news coming at us. So we're going to talk about some of the biggest stories from this week, and a couple that may have fallen under the radar. So let's get started with the biggest story. Obviously, the biggest story of the year: Trump beating Kamala down. Trump almost getting locked up for DV for beating women, beat down two women, Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. So Kamala got stumped. Let's look at this electoral college map right here. Trump stumped Kamala like you're stumping grapes into wine. An electoral college landslide. We're talking about 312 to 226. This actually went above my predictions because I've been pessimistic about the American people because so many people are brainwashed. So many people have fallen into liberal ideology. But I'm pleasantly surprised by what the American people did. And it actually brings into question what happened in the 2020 election. But we'll get to that at another time. But the American people gave Donald Trump a mandate. They soundly rejected everything that the Democrat Party was selling them. We're going to give you free college. We're going to forgive your loans, which Biden didn't do, and they didn't forget. Clearly, they didn't believe that. Kamala Harris talking about, oh, I'm going to stop the price gouging. I'm going to stop the high prices at the grocery stores. The American people said, we don't believe you. If we're paying these high prices, we don't believe that you can do anything about it. She came out there talking about, I'm going to give black men $20,000 to start a business, something like that, which was completely unconstitutional because you can't give out government funds and aid like that based on race. We had a whole civil rights movement about that. So she came out talking about, I'm going to give you $25,000 towards buying a home. The American people said, we'll pass. We'll pass on all of this stuff that the Democrat Party is selling. We want to have unlimited abortions like J.D. Vance called out Tim Walz up there in Minnesota. You can abort the baby down there at birth. You're in a 9-month late term abortion. You know what? I've been carrying this baby around for 9 months, but let's go ahead and kill it right now. The American people said, no, we don't want that type of debauchery. We don't want that type of evil going on in our country. Everything that these elitists, you got Beyonce, them, Cardi B, all these celebrities shaking their ass, giving out free concerts, and the American people said no. They trust Donald Trump. They rather have Donald Trump lead. The man that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the media demonized and tried to assassinate, tried to kill, all of that, that's who the American people chose. Donald Trump swept all 7 swing states, which surprised me, especially in Nevada. I didn't think, and let's take a closer look right here. Let's scroll up some. I didn't think that Trump could do it. We're at 96% reporting, and damn, he has a really comfortable lead. Yeah, he's secured Nevada and wow, Arizona. And if we go right here, Donald Trump, for the first time in 20 years, a Republican candidate has won the popular vote. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to hold. He had a bigger lead. He's up by under 4 million, 3.8 or so million votes right now. I'm not sure he's going to hold this, but right now it's looking like he's going to win the popular vote. But the reason I'm not sure if he's going to hold it is because of California. California, you scroll up a little bit. So California is only at 66% reporting right now, which means we have a lot of votes to count right now. Kamala Harris has a really, really comfortable lead. She's up by a few million votes in California, and you have a few million more to count. So if they bring in 2-3 million more votes in California and maybe a couple other left-wing states, got a handful like in New York up here, you can squeeze out a few in these left-wing states, but mostly California. You squeeze out a few million votes, they could probably close the gap. But she'll need about almost 4 million more votes, like to go about plus 4 million in the overall vote count in order to pass Trump. So I think she can squeeze out a few million. I don't know if she can get the 4 million, the plus 4 million to overtake Trump, but it's going to be really tight. But right now, the fact that Trump does have the electoral college vote, it's a mandate, and it kills one of the main talking points. Like when Trump won in 2016, oh, we need to get rid of the electoral college. This is terrible. This is not reflecting what the American people want. So the fact that Trump is up by millions and millions of votes right now, it completely destroyed that talking point. Also, when you look at the exit polling, it it kind of makes it hard for the Democrats to cry sexism and racism, even though they are doing that. And we're going to get into that shortly. But it makes it hard because most women, not the single thoughts, but most women, the suburban women, the married women, voted for Trump. In fact, Trump did better this round against Kamala than he did with Biden. Biden was plus 15 with the female vote back in 2020, if you believe that. And I think Kamala was plus 7, which meant a lot of those females who voted for Biden went to Trump despite all of the misogyny, sexism, rape, all that BS that they tried to push on Trump. Trump pulled in millions and millions of more female votes. He also doubled the black vote, the black male vote. He actually pulled in 7% of the black female vote. I didn't think he can get more than 5%. So you got black voters. He actually went 55% among Hispanic men. You got the Latino vote. You increasing in the black vote. You're increasing in the women vote. So all of that BS about, oh, this is about white supremacy. The white man is bad and he's out to get us. The exit polls, the results of the election has completely crushed everything that the Democrat Party has. And on election night, I said the person I wanted to hear from most, the person I wanted to see was Joe Biden. And we're going to look at Joe Biden. We're going to look at a clip of him because Joe Biden is feeling redeemed. I don't know if he's ever going to flat out say what he's really feeling, but Joe Biden didn't want to drop out. He was forced. He was cooled by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. They forced this man aside, the power brokers, the donors. They threatened him. They were talking about, we're going to basically destroy your campaign. We're going to withhold money, all of that stuff. So they forced Joe Biden to drop out. Joe Biden's handlers, these people are all pissed. And Joe Biden, as a poison pill to the Democrats, 30 minutes after he put that letter on Twitter saying that he was going to drop out, he made a second tweet endorsing Kamala Harris, basically forcing the DNC and Obama and them to install Kamala instead of whoever they really wanted. He forced them to install Kamala as a candidate. A very weak, trash candidate, Kamala Harris, and Biden's handlers, they knew she was going to lose. So Joe Biden is feeling really spry. He's feeling happy. He's feeling enthused. The week where the Democrats are starting a civil war, blaming each other, breaking down, crying, protesting across the country, about to start riots, Joe Biden is happy as hell because he's like, I told y'all so. You actually believe just because I got stumped by Trump in that debate and I look like an old senile fool, you actually believe that this idiot Kamala Harris was better than me? So Joe Biden's like, look, man, I told y'all. So we're going to look at a little bit of this clip right here. Not really to watch his whole speech, but just to gauge his tone and look at his facial expressions. Let me wind to the very beginning. Look at that, man. Look at that. He coming out there, 80-some years old, trying to run. Man, he got some pep in his step. He's spry. He's feeling good.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Good to see this cabinet and the staff together here. Thank you.
Look at that facial expression. Bro, y'all just got beat down.
Please.
The Republicans just swept y'all. You lost the Senate.
Thank you. Yeah. It's good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character.
All right, that's enough of that from Joe. So I just wanted you to gauge his whole attitude, his tone, and also some of the stuff he said, because I'm going to get into that shortly about the peaceful transfer of power and all of that. But before we get into that, Kamala Harris, who ducked on election night, she completely ducked her supporters there at Howard University. She had all those people down there ready to party, ready to celebrate, and in the middle of the night, she disappeared. She sent her guy out there and said, look, y'all can go on home, go on crying. Kamala, she's somewhere getting drunk off wine right now. She's laying in the bed crying. Now, he didn't say all that, but that's probably what she was doing. She cried her ass off that night. Actually believed, because she's so damn arrogant and full of herself, she actually believed that she had a chance at winning. But the next day, she didn't really want to, but the next day she came out and put on a fake smile, this fake joy, and actually addressed her people. Even though they spent all day crying and she spent all night drinking. My belief. She spent all night drinking wine and crying about her ill. And we're going to get into this speech that she gives, how it's plagiarized. But let's listen in a little bit.
Afternoon. Good afternoon.
Fake.
Good.
It's over. Y'all acting like this is a rally or something.
Everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me say, and I love you back. And I love you back. So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
She's still so robotic, so scripted, and they're not understanding. This is one of the reasons why you lost. One of many reasons, but the fact that you're so fake is one of the many reasons why you lost.
Give up. Our family, I love you.
Yeah.
Service to our and gave so extraordinary teams to the pollers and the local election.
Oh, let me take this.
To the poll extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves.
You hear that cheering? To the volunteers. Imagine that. You out here volunteering for a bunch of millionaires and billionaires. A bunch of Washington, D.C. crooks. You taking time out of your day to work for them like a fucking slave? Are you for real? And all you get is a smile, a fake smile and a pat on the back. All to the volunteers, and you cheer like a idiot. But let's get to the part where she's talking about Trump.
So proud. And the way we ran it, over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about bringing people together from enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election.
Really?
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition.
Now, this is the part I want to talk about because Joe Biden, he's talking about congratulations to Trump. I spoke with him. I'm inviting him to the White House. We're going to work for him. We're going to work with him. Now, she's saying the same thing, scripted stuff from the DNC, right? Now, these are the same people who said Donald Trump was an existential threat. Existential threat to democracy. He was going to destroy the country. He's going to kill black people. He's going to do all this evil stuff. And now you're going to work with him? You said this man would destroy democracy. Remember Joe Biden gave that speech? He had the Marines in the background with the red light. And he was out there with his arms up talking about the MAGA Republicans represent some extreme threat to the country. Something like that. He was basically declaring Trump supporters as enemies. The media, the DNC, they routed off all of this. Obama and them. Donald Trump is pure evil. He's an extreme threat. He's going to destroy the country. Now all of a sudden, oh, well, we lost. It's just an L. You know, bygones be bygones. We're going to help him out. Congratulations. Wait a minute. Congratulations to Hitler? You said this man is Hitler. Now you're going to say congratulations to him? It doesn't make sense. Either these people are dumb or all those talking points about Trump destroying democracy was complete bullshit. Which is what it was. And the American people didn't believe it. The fact that they walked around screaming Hitler, 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 and trying to lock him up and do all this other stuff, and they still took that L shows that nobody believed those BS talking points. Now let's get into something else about this lady. The speech you've been listening to. And watch how she just straight up copycatted crooked Hillary. First of all, her campaign was like Hillary, walked around with all the feminism. Speech is very similar to Hillary, and she's going out like Hillary.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for.
This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for.
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country.
Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background.
We've spent a year and a half bringing together millions of people from every corner of our country to say with one voice that we believe that the American dream is big enough for everyone.
To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed. But please know it's going to be okay.
To the young people in particular, I hope you will hear this.
On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win.
This loss hurts, but please never stop believing that fighting for what's right is...
Listen to this part again.
That doesn't mean we won't win.
You hear how that we want to win, how she's saying it, it's so scripted. And what, these people don't believe the internet exists? Clearly, they should have known that we go back and see that this is just a copy, a ripoff, a plagiarism of Hillary Clinton's speech. But fake from the beginning, everything was fake. The door knocks that she had was fake. When she was going into these restaurants, she would kick out the real customers in the restaurant and bring in vans full of actors to pretend that she was shaking people's hand against support. That thing at the airport where they clearly edited it and made it look like she had a big crowd. Everything about this lady has been fake, including her biggest lie of all is the fact that she's walking around talking about she's black when she knows damn well that she's Indian and Irish with zero African blood in her. And like I said, if you want more details on that, check out Candace Owens' channel because she goes into extreme detail on that. But everything about her was fake. Everything. All the things, the talking points that she gave to these people, and she actually believed that the American people were going to accept this. Now, we got a bunch of idiots in New England and on the West Coast, but they're already far left extremists. They know that even a lot of those people, they knew that Kamala Harris was fake, she was trash, but they knew that she would be a puppet for the Democrat regime, and that's all they wanted. They're like, look, we'll take a fake trash liar because all she's going to do is execute the will of the DNC regime, the power brokers, Obama and them in the background, and all the financiers. She's just going to be a puppet on the strings for them. So we will vote for this idiot. And that says a lot about certain people in America. But let's move on here. Let's look at The View. Let's get some of the left-wing media reaction because it's hilarious. And it also shows, is a clear example showing just how far gone these people are. See real quick.
So do you think Bernie was right about this, that they didn't pay attention enough to the working class?
He's absolutely right, but his solutions are wrong. Kamala Harris outperformed him in Vermont. The lesson Democrats should take is not we didn't run far enough to the left. They lost rural voters. They lost working class voters. And listen, I was someone who I'm recognizing, reflecting on this election. I had the privilege of saying I'm voting on democracy because I'm a high income earner. If your check engine light is on and you've got bills piling up on the table, you're not thinking about democracy. You're not thinking about the war in Ukraine. You're thinking about how will my life be better tomorrow? And the reality is this, we all sat around kind of wondering who is the swing voter that will decide this election? And a lot of folks thought it was women and abortion. No, it turns out it was people in the suburbs who are like, I can't stand Donald Trump's personality. I don't like how he talks, but my life was better off economically when he was president. And I'm struck by this.
But that's the middle class. We're talking about the...
It's amazing to hear Alyssa Farrah Griffin, this fake Republican who used to actually work for Trump. It's amazing to hear her say all of this stuff because just last week she refused to say anything like this. Oh, Trump evil, Trump bad. She was right in line with these far left extremists, but now she wants to reflect and act like she has some knowledge. Well, you know, everyday people, they're concerned about kitchen table issues. They got bills. They're worried about safety. They ain't got time to be talking about, oh, the democracy. All of no, don't try to switch. Now, you see how fake these never Trumpers are, man? Trying to act like she was reasonable the entire time when she's a complete far left extremist.
I'm talking broadly. Yeah. He was not just the working class that he won. He also got the largest share of young voters for Republicans since 2008. That was the height of the financial crisis. Young voters, maybe they care about Gaza, maybe they care about student loans, but to be honest, 2/3 of this country doesn't even get to go to college. They were thinking, am I going to have a job? Am I going to be able to afford the life that I want? And finally, suburban women, sure, they definitely care about abortion. They also care that they're paying to send their kids to college and their graduations are being canceled because there's protests everywhere and because people are out in the streets demonstrating over a war somewhere else rather than just being able to educate their kids. There is so much room for self-reflection from the Democrats, and I hope they have it. Every time Joe Biden bragged about how good the economy is, another vote of someone struggling went to Donald Trump.
All right. Anybody else?
I disagree.
All right.
I think that I'd like to reframe the conversation. I think
now Sunny Holston is terrible, and a lot of people get angry at her. I'm indifferent because she's an example of the far left. These people cannot be reasoned with. You can't persuade them. You can't give them empirical data. There's nothing you can do. They are far gone. So you just let them talk and you move on.
I think Bernie Sanders is wrong. I think the more relevant question actually is what is wrong with America? I think what is wrong with our country that the Republican Party would choose as a candidate and support a candidate who is an insurrectionist, who is an election denier, who is someone who is twice impeached, 34-time convicted felon, someone who has been accused of alleged sexual misconduct by 20.
You see how her tone shifted when the crowd started clapping for her, like a bunch of seals. She started getting encouraged, like, oh, they're backing me up. I'm saying all this NPC nonsense, and they're cheering for me like clapping seals. So it just encourages her to go deeper into her extremism. And like I said, these people can't be reasoned with.
6 women found liable for sexual abuse. What is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness, of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny, over a message of inclusiveness, a message for the people, by the people, of the people?
That
is what the problem is.
He won the popular vote.
Party.
But can
What's wrong
I
with
say
America?
something before? We can do a second. The Democrats are the ones. They are the party that cares for the blue collar
Exactly.
voter. The Democrats are the ones who put in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, union protection,
ACA,
unemployment insurance, and Obamacare. The Republican Party doesn't give a rat's patootie about it.
Clearly they didn't convince
Come on.
the voters of
So
that.
all I can deduce is that it's the messaging. It didn't get through to people. They're not paying attention. That's all.
It's the messaging. It's nothing wrong with the Democrat extremism, the liberal ideology, trans in the kids, stuff like that. Them trying to persecute Trump, trying to assassinate Trump. No, that was all good. It was just the messaging. The American people are too stupid to understand all of this great stuff. You know, chopping penises off of little boys and having them compete with girls, having them take scholarships from girls, stuff like that. Forcing vaccines. That was all good. That was great stuff, but the American people are just too damn stupid to understand. We need to work on our messaging to get these people to understand how great the Democrat ideas are. Burning up the American people's money by sending money overseas to Ukraine, to Israel, turning Gaza into a parking lot. This is all great, but the American people just don't get it. Man, let me move on. These people are idiots, man. Let's look at some CNN. Let's see what's going on with these deranged nuts.
Extent people putting pronouns after their names. Just call me by my pronoun. And by the way, if you call me by the wrong pronoun, I'll correct you and we'll move on. You don't have to virtue signal about everything. But they didn't do, it's the constant virtue signaling, I think, that really alienates people, because what most people care about is what they care about. They just want people to be authentic and take positions. And I think
You hear this on CNN? Where was this a month ago, 2 months ago, a year ago? They were extremely against this type of talk. In fact, you get immediately shouted down on CNN and probably disinvited if you start saying stuff like this. But now you take a beating. Now you knew. So it turns out they knew the whole time. They just didn't give a shit. They suppressed these reasonable ideas because they were trying to push liberal extremism. But now, since it didn't work, they want to go back and say, yeah, this is all the stuff that was wrong. But a lot of these Democrats, they're so far gone, they just can't get it. They would never understand. No point in arguing with them.
as Democrats sometimes, we are so busy trying to figure out how to appeal to Scott, because Scott lives in Kentucky and Scott's a white man. Now, how do I speak to Scott? And I speak to Scott differently than I speak to Abby, than I speak to Julie. And the reality is, you know what I know about Scott? He's got kids who love Pokemon, and so do I. And sometimes those kids talk about Pokemon trading cards. We can talk about the same thing. We don't need to sit there and constantly try to segment how we talk to people. We don't have to look at focus
Even
groups
Scott's
at all
surprised,
times
like,
to
wow.
figure it out. Common sense.
can actually be somewhat
the spirit
reasonable.
of what you're saying. The only difference is I think it's more than a communication problem. I think it's deeper. I think it's the soul of the Democratic Party. It's about the beliefs. It's about the values. It's not simply a comms problem.
Inclusive.
It's that why couldn't it's a courage problem too. It's a courage in standing up against the progressive wing of the party. Why can't any Democrat just say something simple like, of course, we have no problem after you're above 18, do what you want, live and let live. This is America. But below 18, if you can't get a tattoo, you also can't consort to hormone therapy.
That's not, listen.
Play whatever sport you want. But you can't play it against people that have a natural disadvantage against you. This is common sense, and no Democrat can say this. That's deeper than a communication problem.
Wow. These fools, these analysts knew the whole time, but they chose to reject this type of rhetoric, but now they want to say it. Now let's listen to this guy here. He's on the left. Just listen.
It's not common sense. It's not. I worked very, very hard for weeks, months in our local school board, and so many Americans know what this is like. We got thumped and threatened and beaten over trans kids using the bathroom. It was horrifying. what my community went through. I mean, and what the trans kids community. We had a woman in the back who yelled, "You're brainwashed," to a person who identified as trans. She got elected to the board. We can't compete. You say we have to be better on messaging. Tell me what we're supposed to do when Donald Trump says boys are going to school and getting a surgery and coming home as girls. The fact that anybody would believe that is insane to me. But
Well, a lot of stuff was going on. Donald Trump is illustrating the point. Donald Trump is making a point that this leftism, this Democrat extremism is infecting children. We had the case up there that helped Glenn Youngkin get elected to the Virginia governorship, where the trans boy who said he was a girl was in the girls' restroom graping, like sexually assaulting teenage girls. We had the case over there in California where the courts ruled that in divorce cases, if one parent wants to trans the kid and the other parent does not want to trans the kid, then they have to take that into major consideration. And more than likely, the parent who wants to trans the kid is going to win custody. We have them pushing policies over there saying that they need to send CPS to knock on the doors and take the children of parents who don't want to trans them. If the child is 10 years old and they've been brainwashed by these Democrats and they want to be trans and the parents are against that, oh, this is child abuse. We need to take your child away. We see girls get injured in high school by boys. We've seen a volleyball girl get brain damage from being spiked in the face. So when Trump mentions this, even if he doesn't have it 100% correct on the exact story, it still brings up the overall point, and this is what the American people are concerned about. But people like this don't get it. They can never get it. They just don't get it.
Let me just say this.
Combat that? I don't know what to do.
One of the aspects of this.
We should be protecting vulnerable people, but we can't.
The issues underlying that are a whole discussion. But in this particular campaign, unless you live in one of these battleground states, you may not have known, if you heard Kamala Harris talking, that this was an issue that in October, according to the spending, constituted 21% of Republican ad spending in this election.
Which issue?
That ad and this issue of trans people, and the response from the Democrats was nothing.
That's because the Democrats are afraid of the extreme left. The Democrats, the leadership in the Democrat Party, they knew that it was a losing issue, but they were afraid to say anything because they let a subset of a subset, less than 1% of their voters, maybe in the Democrat Party overall, maybe it's more than 1%, but a small amount of their voters dictate the national policy, which was a losing issue on a national level. So when Donald Trump, the Republican Party, was coming out hitting the Democrats on this extremism, the Democrats were silent because they couldn't say anything. They trapped themselves. Over the last several years, they completely trapped themselves by supporting this extreme ideology. But I want to move on. Let's talk about these cases. So the Democrats took the L. Trump is president-elect now. And we know the Democrats were running election interference with Jack Smith, with Letitia James, with Fannie Pack Willis, with Fed Albert. All these DAs, these AGs, running election interference, trying to smear Trump. That's why these Democrats, these NPCs say, "Oh, he's a 34th count felon." He's this and that. They sound like robots because the Democrats coordinated to run a series of court cases. They wanted to put Trump in jail. They wanted to publicly embarrass him. They wanted to taint his name, add felonies to his name. They wanted to bankrupt him, seize his assets, but it didn't work. The main point of this stuff was, yeah, of course they're evil and they want to bankrupt Trump and take his stuff and jail him. But the main point was to sway voters. They were trying to get people to say, oh, Trump he is a criminal. He is a bad person. Look at all of this stuff coming on him. But 70% of the electorate knew that these cases were politically motivated. So we're going to look at this Fox report right here for a few minutes. They're going to give a general summary of what's about to happen with these cases. And we're going to look at a CNN clip of the disappointment that these left-wing journalists, these journalists, really propagandists, how they're feeling about their cases completely failing.
The president really is going to have any legal problems going forward.
And this is Bill Barr, former AG, U.S. AG under Trump, and this is the man that they tried to paint against Trump over the last several months.
These cases are not going to go forward, neither the federal cases nor the state cases against the president. So I think it's really a question of how these governments, the federal government, the Justice Department, is going to dismount from the limb it's gotten itself out on.
Katie Cherkasky is a constitutional law attorney, former federal prosecutor, joins me now. Chanley did a really good synopsis of what's going on. Let's start with the Fed cases. We have documents, we have election interference. Chanley mentioned that DOJ longstanding policy, a sitting president cannot be prosecuted. That phrase, wind down Jack Smith's case. Describe what a wind down of Jack Smith's cases looks like.
Well, I think big picture here, if you haven't been able to convict someone in the court of public opinion, there's really no legitimate way you can convict them in a court of law. And every prosecutor has discretion about what cases they bring forward. These cases, we've called them lawfare, and that's because they're cases that have stretched the bounds of any prior precedent. They're never before seen interpretations of criminal law. So in terms of winding down these cases, they essentially can dismiss them really at any time, or obviously when Donald Trump takes office, he will dismiss the cases and summarily fire Jack Smith. So there's many different ways that the cases could end. They're not practically going to trial anytime soon, even if Trump had lost. But at this point, I do agree that they need to be concluded.
So the takeaway on the Fed cases, they're done, finito, over. Then there is the New York State Court case. All focus now goes there. This is the Stormy Daniels case. He's got sentencing less than 3 weeks from now. What happens there?
Well, that case also is complicated because of the Supreme Court's ruling regarding immunity. So essentially, there is sentencing scheduled, but before that can even proceed, Judge Merchan is expected to rule on whether that case actually is tainted by the immunity ruling, meaning that they allowed in inadmissible evidence and that the case would essentially have to be reversed and go back to trial, or ultimately go back up to the Supreme Court to determine whether the immunity ruling impacted it. So for all intents and purposes, again, that case could also be dismissed, but it doesn't have to be. If there is any adverse ruling to President Trump, it's immediately appealable, meaning that if Judge Merchan says the immunity case does not end that case summarily, that would be essentially appealed anyway. And then, of course, I guess he could sentence him at some point to jail time, again, something that would be immediately appealable and probably stayed pending a decision by the higher court. So for all practical purposes, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. The question is how far these people will continue to push these cases.
There's also
yeah, so that's the, when he talk about Stormy Daniels, that's the Jack Smith case where they're talking about Trump falsified business records when his attorney wrote out the payment to Stormy Daniels, and they're saying Trump is a felon. They tried to attach it, even though technically it would be a misdemeanor. They tried to attach it to another crime, which they never said what it was, but they're trying to say that he committed some phantom felony that nobody can identify. So therefore the counts go from misdemeanors to felonies, but it's not going to go anywhere. In fact, Jack Smith, the day after Trump was elected, so less than a day, the following Wednesday, Jack Smith said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and start winding down, putting in the paperwork to dismiss this stuff and move on with our lives because we have nothing. And Jack Smith also knows that his career for the Justice Department is over, being appointed special counsel and all that, because as soon as Trump takes office, he's done. So instead of waiting to get fired and embarrassed like that, he's going to quit. So he's trying to wind down, unwind, and get rid of these cases and move on. He's probably going to be a CNN legal analyst or something like that one day to, continue to bash Trump. So let's listen in just a little bit more.
The logic of all this, you find me the NYPD officer, Department of Corrections officer, or New York State Police that's going to physically put Donald Trump in handcuffs. There are 0 of them. Not one of them is going to do it because they know the ramifications to that would be massive. So I think that's another logic aspect of this that we need to pay attention to.
Right. So even at the state level, Trump can't pardon himself like he can at the federal level. But even at the state level, they say, yeah, Trump, you know what? We're going to continue this, and we're going to say the president of the United States committed some state crime. Therefore, he needs to be in prison in our state, in the state of New York. Who the hell is about to go arrest the president of the United States? These people are deranged, man. They lost their mind. They can't see the logic in their own actions. But let's listen to a bit of CNN talking about these cases.
We've been talking about this for years now, okay? We've been talking about this for years. Trump's appeared in courtrooms. We've all gone and sat in courtrooms where Trump has appeared in downtown New York. He's actually scheduled to appear in a New York courtroom in just under 3 weeks to receive a sentence for his conviction on 34 counts of falsifying business records. So what happens to all of those cases? Is that even happening as a sentencing, or is that just gone?
Well, Aaron, I do think the state
Wait a minute. Why does she sound like she's about to cry? I thought she was a journalist. You see how these left-wing propagandists are? They really believe their own propaganda. They really believe that they were going to have Trump bankrupt and arrested. Crazy.
Sentencing. Now we're getting away from the DOJ federal cases that Paula was talking about. But I do think that state sentencing will proceed on November 26th. The reason is the judge in that case, Juan Merchan, originally had scheduled the sentencing for September, which would have been before the election. And then in a somewhat surprising ruling, he said, actually, I don't want to do anything that might impact the election. Therefore, I'm going to put it off until after the election. So now impacting the election is no longer a concern. But this will be a surreal moment. We are going to have the president-elect, not just a former president, but now the president-elect going into a county-level court to receive his sentence. But I do want to stress this. No matter what the sentence is that Judge Merchan pronounces, if this goes ahead in a few weeks, it's almost entirely symbolic and formalistic. There is no way that the president-elect will be locked up. Even in an ordinary circumstance, he would probably be allowed to appeal before he has to serve a sentence. So it'll be an important moment, an interesting moment, but anyone who's thinking Donald Trump is going to be locked up needs to just let go of that fantasy.
Classified documents misused, hanging out in the bathroom, who knows what they were, at Mar-a-Lago, black and white
She's still
case.
at it.
You had the January 6th case, which there had been years of adjudication and back and forth, now into what was an official act and what wasn't.
Yeah.
Day in and day out. And now what happens?
So, first of all, this is an astonishing result if you just sit back and think about it. I mean, these are two of the biggest prosecutions the Justice Department has ever brought. Neither of them will see the light of day. Neither of them will get to trial. Neither of them will get to a verdict. Here's what Jack Smith, I believe, would be discussing as between what can happen between now and January 20th. He's not going to be able to have a trial, but a big question is, will he issue a special counsel report like we saw with the Mueller report, the Durham report, the Robert Hur report? The special counsel regulations say he is supposed to file a written report when he's at the end of his case. Now, ordinarily, you'd wait till after your trials. That's not going to happen. But I want to see, are we going to see a Jack Smith report between now and January 20th? One other point I want to make about this new reporting that we got from Paula Reed, that Donald Trump is going to fire Jack Smith, and he accepts that. Note the contrast, because 4 years ago when the Biden administration took over, and I know Kate will remember this, they inherited a special counsel that I'm sure you were not fans of, a guy named John Durham.
John Durham into Hunter Biden.
Into the origins of the Russia investigation, and he was a Trump. And what did the Biden administration do? Nothing.
Hands off.
They let him finish his job. He took into 2023. Complete hands off, and Donald Trump said, I'm firing Jack Smith in 2 minutes, to quote him.
Right.
I should say there's a little bit of a difference, because DOJ policy says DOJ cannot prosecute the sitting president, which Trump will be in
All
a
right,
few
now
months.
let's just say, and we don't know, but there is a report. Okay, if there's a report, I'm just thinking back, because you mentioned Ben-Hur. The Ben-Hur report was maybe no one remembers anything was in it, except for one thing. They remember that he said that Biden was not able to remember things, and that Biden might get off because people would see him as an old man who didn't have a memory. And that was what stuck with the public. That became part of an important narrative that led into the debate and the whole thing. So I'm just saying a report can have influence.
It can, and I think that, the Hur report fed into a pre-existing narrative that was already starting to pull Biden under. So, I think we have to recognize that it wasn't the Hur.
Yeah, that's because the DOJ is corrupt. So they had no other way out. They talking about Trump had classified documents down there in Mar-a-Lago. Oh, we got an open and shut case. This is black and white. Trump committed a crime. He was a president, and he took classified documents with him to his residence down there in Mar-a-Lago. And even though he had the authority to do it, he shouldn't have did it. So we're going to say it's illegal. Turns out that Biden had more classified documents than Trump did. In fact, Biden was the vice president when he did it, and a senator. He had no authority to remove classified documents. But now you are trapped. You trap yourself because you want to condemn Trump. But when Biden has classified documents, oh, you can't say anything. So you come up with, oh, well, he's an old man. He's senile. He can't stand trial. So, we'll let that slip. But we're still going to go after Trump. So that was just a dumb thing to say to begin with. But what it did do, it helped reinforce the idea that he was senile. See, even the DOJ, Joe Biden's own DOJ, because they don't want to go after him like they're doing Trump, they said, look, oh, he's senile. So I guess a handful of people who didn't believe that Biden was senile, I guess they started believing he was senile. This is what CNN was trying to say.
Report alone that, kind of generated this. And I think depending on when we saw a report from Jack Smith, we will see where Trump is politically. But yes, absolutely. These reports can certainly have political impact. I think, Ellie and I were talking about this earlier this morning. The thing that concerns me here is, we talk a lot about legal precedent, but the political precedent that's being set here by the firing, the dismissal of this special prosecutor we're essentially saying, elected officials are above the law. The candidate, the president-elect, is above the law, and the message.
When it's a bunch of BS, you're being politically persecuted. Yeah, I think these left-wing activist prosecutors should be dealt with.
That sends the kind of political precedent that creates, I think, is a really dangerous thing.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Did CNN say that Joe Biden was above the law when the DOJ said he was too senile to stand trial? Huh.
I'm laughing because the trailer for Ben-Hur is running on my phone. I meant
it's
Robert.
I
knew you meant Robert. I was like,
Robert. Charlton Heston.
All right. Let's look at Letitia James. So she's the New York Attorney General, and her case against Trump was regarding his assets, his business records. Well, she said she accused Trump of overvaluing his assets, his properties in New York, Mar-a-Lago, other properties, in order to get better terms, maybe higher loans, bigger loans, or better interest rates, something like that. So she's saying he swindled banks and financial institutions, even though the banks themselves say, no, we good. We all made money. Trump is good. We vetted his assets ourselves. We did our own due diligence. And we were completely okay with giving Trump those loans. Trump made money off of the loans. We made money. No, hey, everybody good here. But Letitia James wants to interfere and says, no. I don't believe that Mar-a-Lago is worth what he said it was. I don't believe that Trump Tower is worth that. Therefore, Trump lied. He's committing business fraud. And therefore, we need to hit him and his sons with a nearly $500 million fine. And, if you can't pay it within a week or so, we're going to seize your assets. So now she's salty. She's extremely salty because this BS didn't work. The American people knew it was completely politically motivated. So she came out on the day after the election and gave a speech talking about she was going to go against Trump. I'm prepared to fight back. My office has been working for months preparing for this. We're prepared to continue to go after Trump. We're not afraid of him. I've never been afraid of Trump. She came out there talking so much shit. And it's not going to work out for her. It's not going to end well for her. She still wants to go after Trump. Even when he's the president of the United States, she still wants to push his BS, a complete nonsensical case that she built against Donald Trump. She wants to continue because her entire career is built off of this. When she was running for AG, she campaigned on it. She campaigned, look, elect me and I'm going after Trump. I don't know if he did any crimes. I don't know if he did anything wrong, but I'm going to find something. I'm going to throw spaghetti at the wall and we're going to see what sticks. We're just going to find something and I'm going to build a case. That's her entire campaign. So Trump, this new Trump administration, they ain't playing no more. He's not hiring any neocons. He's not going to hire any people from the swamp like he did in his first term. They coming in. They know what they're doing now completely, and they're taking no nonsense. So we're gonna look at Trump's lawyer. This guy, he might end up being the White House special counsel. He's one of Trump's lawyers. Some people are even saying that he might be the AG. But he was on a Benny Johnson show, and he sent a special message out to New York AG Letitia James for still talking about she's about to go after Trump.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump. in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike. This isn't the...
Yeah. So this is the same Trump administration. This isn't the same group of people he had. He coming in with killers, not literal killers. We don't want anybody to say that. But these boys ain't playing anymore. But so good luck, Letitia James, with your BS. But let's move on to some of the reactions, because this has been probably my favorite part of this past week. Some of the reactions, seeing the celebrity meltdowns. How many A-list, B-list celebrities came out and shook their ass for Rich Cripps, did a tap dance, Usher, Beyonce, George Clooney. He was one of the ones pushing Biden to step aside, actually, and he's getting a lot of blame for that. But I'll address that at another time. But so many Hollywood weird celebrities. The Avengers, they came out talking about the Avengers assemble and all of that. They talking about Kamala forever instead of Wakanda forever. I mean, a complete disgrace to what Marvel was just 10 years ago. But we can see now that Robert Downey Jr. and we know the guy, what's the guy who plays Hulk, Mark Ruffalo or whatever? He's been Trump deranged. But all of these guys came out heavily supporting Kamala Harris. This fool, Kimmel here, has been Trump deranged for years. And in fact, that's why his show is failing, because all he does is bash Trump and nobody wants to see it. But let's watch this man from the other night. Let's just see what happens.
Let's be honest. It was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And
what a bitch. What a fucking soy boy. Wow. This man getting on here after all his propaganda, all his derangement, all his NPC talking points. You can just see him reading off NPC, MSNBC talking points. After all that failed, this motherfucker gets on live TV. Maybe it wasn't live, but he gets on national TV and cries like a bitch. Wow. That's pathetic, man. That's pathetic. That's enough of that. So let's look at another post from this guy. I mean, they're deranged, man. And this post here follows a trend of a long list of celebrities. I did a video this past week about all of these celebrities. Oh, we're done. Fuck this. We're leaving the country.
Jimmy, what are you doing?
I'm packing.
Packing? Are you going on vacation?
No, I'm not going on vacation. I'm leaving the country.
Why are you leaving the country?
I can't stay for another 4 years of this. Who knows what he's going to do?
Who? Donald Trump?
Yes, Donald Trump. You've heard him. He said he has a list of enemies. You think I'm not on that list?
Jimmy, calm down. You're acting like a stupid little baby.
Oh.
When the going gets tough, what do the tough do?
Get going.
Uh-oh. Trump won. Orange man bad. This is so bad for us. All these talking points, all this orange man bad stuff that he was listening. Hey, leave. You're free to go. So take your celebrity money. You can go to Europe. You can go to Africa. Hell, you can go to Antarctica. You can go to Jupiter for all we give a shit. They keep threatening. All these celebrities, they keep threatening. There's a long list of them. And I put out a short list, but there are more. But there's this long list of celebrities who saying, oh, Trump won. We're leaving the country. I'm going to Canada. Go. Stop making threats. Stop saying, hey, I'm going to do this, and just get the fuck out. Leave. We don't need you. But let's move on from Kimmel. Actually, let's look at one more thing from Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Jimmy Kimmel used to be on The Man Show. This is back in the day. So I just want to give you an example of how far gone this man is like how far he's fallen. Let's take a look.
Tell us what you think of the statue. I mean, do you think that she's attractive or not? Take another look at it.
So that there is just an example. I mean, I know it's a show, but it's an example of some of the stuff that Kimmel used to do, and it was called The Man Show. But look at him now, crying on national TV like a bitch. Now, speaking of crying on TV, we're gonna get into some of these reactions, some of these TikTok and Instagram. I think it was mostly TikTok, but we're gonna get into some of the reactions, some of the glorious liberal tears, some of the reactions of these left-wing activists who praised Kamala Harris, who volunteered, gave up their personal time, gave up their money for a trash candidate. We're gonna look at some of them reacting. Oh my God! Oh yeah.
We have to go to bed.
There we go.
None of us are stressed about the election, right? We all are gonna just go have the best night's sleep of our lives, aren't we?
When did it end? All the enjoyment unsaid. When did it end? All the enjoyment unsaid.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done with all of this.
You notice there's a trend with the men, the certain type of men who are on here crying and bitching. They're all either soy boys or a little sweet.
It's not gonna happen. Go, Kamala.
Right there. This is what I was talking about. This is what Kamala was doing. She was crying and drinking wine. Now we got this lady, what, she's 60-something years old, crying, getting drunk just like him.
We literally don't even have to panic. We literally don't have to freak out right now. We don't even have to fucking, we don't have to freak out. We don't have to freak out because it's not even real. Because, bitch, recount the vote!
Guys, I just voted, and I chose family. Let's end this reign of terror now. I chose family, I chose women, I chose America.
This is pathetic, man. Look at this. Look at this face, man. Wow. Jimmy Kimmel's not the only one. He's not the only little bitch on the internet crying over an election.
I love you.
We're moving on. I'm moving on. We're moving on.
I love all of this. Let's do it. Let's do this.
We were wrong. It's an utter betrayal for anybody that is not a cisgendered white Christian.
If you voted for that man, if you voted for anybody other than Kamala, and you live in one of the states that it was, close, or if you didn't vote, fuck you.
Oh my God, if you have the right. Let's look at it a little bit more.
What the fuck? Bitch! You fuck! What the hell?
You voted for Donald Trump. I will never not know that about you. And that's something we'll both have to live with.
We don't care. Let me tell you, we don't care.
I will be leaving the country and my dad will be staying blocked after this election.
Go.
See you never. Fuck this.
Bye, bitch.
Right. Like we're just gonna wake up tomorrow morning and everything's gonna go back to the way it'll be a psych. It'll be like a really bad dream, and none of this will have ever happen, right? Like it'll be like the first time, and then we're all gonna pull through fine in 4 years. Correct? Please, someone tell me.
All right, that's enough of that. So we got women out here, they're mad over abortion, women's rights. They think Trump is the ultimate misogynist, and they're blaming the manosphere. You saw Chiron on CNN earlier. They were talking about the manosphere, the male podcasters, Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan. It's their fault that Kamala lost. So in protest to men, apparently all the men are misogynists now. We have women breaking up their boyfriends for voting for Trump. Now the women in the United States want to start what's known as the 4B movement. This is South Korean movement, where they're calling over there in South Korea, a bunch of feminists over there are saying that they're going to stop doing certain things with men. So we can see there are 4Bs, basically Korean words, but it's talking about the refusal of heterosexual sex, childbirth, dating, and I mean, no marriage. So no marriage, no childbirth, no dating, and no sex with men. Basically, so the women want to abstain from all of this, which I don't believe is going to happen. Maybe it can happen somewhere in South Korea, but these thoughts, these hoes over here in the United States, hell no. They're not going to be able to do it. In fact, I mean, and most of these women, or half of these women anyway, especially these types of women, that's their only asset. That's the only thing they bring to the table to begin with. But that's what they're claiming they're going to do. So let's look at a little bit of it.
In the wake of Donald Trump's historic win, there's a new movement sweeping America. Disappointed women are actually swearing off men.
There's no way I am letting any man near me for the next few years.
There's saying no to dating,
I'm not even
marriage, no to sex.
Celibacy, at least to me, isn't that hard.
And no to having children.
Like so many other women in America who have been considering trying to get pregnant, I woke up today and said, nope, not anymore.
This woman is actually shaving her head in protest. It's being called the 4B movement, and women are taking to social media.
I mean, you see this, we got several women out here online influencing each other to shave their heads and break up with their boyfriends, file for divorce over Trump getting elected. Now, what's going to happen over the next couple of years is the pharmaceutical industry is about to make a lot of money, because already 25%, 1 in 4 of American women are on some type of psychiatric drug, depression, anxiety, something like that. It's about to increase, because especially with social media, it's a contagion of these women becoming full-blown lunatics. And we can just see what's going on there, the derangement. There's going to be so many depressed and anxious and mentally fucked up women because they're influencing each other. It's a social contagion.
Declaring their allegiance. The 4B movement was actually started by women in South Korea back in 2019 as part of their version of the Me Too movement. The number 4 refers to dating, marriage, sex, and children.
This movement's way more important now than ever.
26-year-old Alexa Vargas joined the movement 2 years ago and expects a surge of interest in the wake of the Trump victory.
Not going to happen.
So you, in 2022, swore off dating forever.
Not forever. We're not going to settle for low-value men that don't respect us anymore.
But lots of women...
See, that's the thing. So they want to swear off these men, these Trump supporters, these macho men, these machistas. They want to swear all of them off. And so they want to have these fucking crying-ass soy boys as their men. But here's the thing. When they get with the soy boys, they don't want him because he's too soft, he's too weak, he's too much of a bitch. So they end up cheating on them or leaving them, something like that. So these women don't know what the hell they want. But all of these women in mass on this, no way in hell is going to happen. Too many hoes, too many thoughts. Now let's look at this video here.
Like, I full on removed myself from Hinge, Bumble. Like, I didn't even think twice about it. There's no way I am letting any man near me.
for the next 4 years, I am going to abstain from schmex with men. And funny enough, I actually just broke up with my boyfriend.
Wow. Look at this shit. These women, bro. They're actually doing men a favor because these type of women, men are dodging bullets. Trump is making America great again already because with these type of women withholding, now we're going to have less abortions. We're going to have less men being falsely accused for DV and rape and all this other stuff. Already Trump is doing great things for America.
Ain't no way in hell I'm leaving my man. I'm not here to judge anybody doing this 4B movement, but telling people to divorce their husbands is crazy.
This woman actually has some common sense. And I think there are going to be way more women like her versus these fucking psychos. But yeah, that's all the stories for today. Let me know what you guys think about this. Leave me your comments, your thoughts about all these stories. And like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.